for what was a lousy football game, I
Yeah.
thought boring in times,
Yep.
it ended up being an incredible finish. And the Bills just, again, find a way. That's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
This is the Buffalo Plus Podcast, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.
All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel, presented by Connors and Ferris. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy our content and our breakdowns of these games. And what a game this one was. Mike Catalana, Dan Fates, I'm Jenna Cottrell. The Bills eking out the win in this one, 14-9.
Never a doubt.
Let's talk about this game, the last play, how it all went down, because there's a lot to talk about in this one.
Different answers from guys. We ask them about feeling like they survived. Maybe they don't want to say that. They survived in this game.
Yeah.
No doubt about it, right? You are going against a Giants offense that, even with Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor in this one, had not scored an offensive touchdown. It ended up being in 220 minutes.
Insane.
They have struggled
Is that
without
bad?
the weapons. Yes. They have
Ken
struggled
Dorsey's like,
with injuries, right? And here they are going down the field with a chance to score a TD and beat
Yeah.
you. Not only do they end up on the goal line, they get a second shot because of a penalty at the end, and the Bills stop it. I mean, it was incredible. For what was a lousy football game, I
Yeah.
thought boring in times,
Yep.
it ended up being an incredible finish, and the Bills just, again, find a way. That's exactly what they did.
Yeah, and I do understand there are no style points. And
Yes.
we talked about this game coming in as a get-right game. That was quickly thrown out the window,
Yeah.
I think, at the end of the first quarter.
I still think
yeah.
we were right. It should have
I
been.
agree.
It should have been,
Yes.
yeah.
But about midway through the third quarter, it was another one of those games where you're sitting there, it's like 6-0. It felt like it was more, but you're sitting
Yeah.
there, it's a one-score game. You just sat there, and maybe we can get to the grand scheme at the end, but this was one of those games that you look back and we won't care.
Yeah.
You will not
Yes.
care how the game finished.
Correct.
It's a win, holy bleep, and move on. Because the last play, though, I will say, they shouldn't have even had a final drive. Like, I feel like the two deep incompletions on the drive before seemed to be the sealer.
Yeah.
But the Giants having all three timeouts, the Bills giving the ball back, it almost was like the Bills' defense was like, oh crap.
Like, we gotta go
we gotta
back
go back
out,
out
yeah.
there?
But while you're
And it was
saying
deflated.
that, I want to ask you about it because Sean McDermott's decision
Yeah.
to throw on third down.
I'm fine with it.
I am
okay.
too.
I'm okay with that
I'm
too.
fine with it.
Because the Giants still had that timeout left.
Yeah.
Right? What you gave the Giants was the ability to still use that timeout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if they didn't have a timeout, you could have run the ball, taken the clock down to, 45 seconds or so.
Yeah.
And they would have had to go a long way. You probably would have punted on fourth down. Instead, they needed the touchdown, so
Yeah.
you ended up throwing on that third down.
And you have the ball in your best player's hands, which Sean McDermott talked about. Felt comfortable with the decision.
Yeah.
Josh Allen with the ball.
I would have punted
Interesting.
Okay.
Oh, as opposed to the field goal.
Yeah.
as opposed to the field goal.
I was thinking
that
the
was
same thing.
That was my only thing. Make them go, worst case scenario, 75 yards.
Yeah.
Don't give them the life at midfield. And
Yeah.
for whatever reason, hey, Tyler Bass is human. He wasn't his best day. And it just felt like the vibes at that point was you punt it, there's no way they're going to go 90 yards. Say Sam Martin puts him at the 10.
Yeah.
Didn't feel that way. The door just kept being let open, and the Bills
Yeah.
were never able to shut it.
Yeah.
That's fair. We talked about earlier on just the fact that, like, the Bills didn't go for that earlier. The first, they could have gone for the attempt.
On the field goal,
It was
yeah.
like 55 yards, which we've seen.
He says because it was going that way.
Away from
They
the
say the
tunnel.
wind's
Yeah.
a little different. You were down on the field. Did you feel like the wind
I didn't think
was...
the wind was much of a factor
Yeah,
at all.
No.
and I didn't think, Bass didn't hit even the second one particularly well.
Yeah.
Now, he boomed the last one. He just missed it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
he missed two, and they didn't take a shot at another one. And usually he's as automatic as it
Yeah.
gets.
Yeah, and as we wrap up, or as we're talking about our 10 takeaways, finishing up on that last play, did Taron Johnson grab him a little bit, make the ref throw the flag? And
Yeah.
as the final play, there was a timeout, and then there was obviously the call on Terrell Bernard before it.
Yeah.
The team knows, and the defense, and I'm sitting there on the sidelines, and Stephon Diggs is sitting there pretty much in the defensive huddles and is pretty much telling the guys the same thing. You cannot get beat in that play.
Yeah.
You mug a guy.
Right.
You tackle him before he catches the ball.
That was Terrell Bernard.
So, and you make the ref throw the flag.
Yeah.
And they threw it on the first one, and they didn't throw it on the second one.
Yeah.
And Taron Johnson was asked about it. Mike, you talked to him.
Yeah, here's what Johnson had to say about that last play and the way he approached it.
I mean, I'm going to play aggressive. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to play aggressive, and if he throw a flag, then that's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to go out there and I'm going to play aggressive best way I can. I'm just thankful we got the dub. You know what I'm saying? I don't take no W for granted. So I'm just happy we came out with it.
Yeah, and Taron Johnson's a guy I trust there. I think he makes good decisions.
Yeah.
You see everybody else going one way or the other. That guy is locked in, and I thought he was really good back there. And yes, you're right, though. Other times, take the guy down, force them to run another play because they're at the goal line anyhow.
No, I agree. All right, we've talked about the defense a little bit. Let's talk about
Let's not.
let's talk about the offense because
I'd rather not.
We should discuss this.
So let me ask you this. Is 0 points going into the fourth quarter a bad thing?
Is that bad?
Yeah.
Well, I had tweeted, and I thought it was pretty funny and snarky, that the Bills should have traveled to Buffalo earlier in the week to prepare for the timing and not have a jet lag.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Well,
Because the jet lag was what caused them to be poor in the first half in London.
yes, it was the jet lag. So now it was coming back with the jet lag. So is there a time difference in Foxborough next week?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so that'll help.
I'm
They'll be in the
hearing
same-
reports.
We're golden.
Yeah. Look, I think it was a combination of things. And I have a feeling you're going to go coaching staff, which was a huge part of it.
Yeah. Mhm.
I thought what they did. Thought the execution also was
Absolutely.
poor.
Yeah.
I mean, pre-snap penalties again.
Yeah.
Missed blocking assignments.
Yep.
Look, Wink Martindale's going to blitz. That's what the
Yeah.
guy does. He's
Yeah.
sending pressure. I tell you what, Josh made a lot of plays in this game, and some of them he was Houdini getting out of pressure.
Phenomenal.
And the
Yeah.
Giants aren't very good at getting pressure on the
They're
quarterback.
not very good at anything.
Yeah.
They really aren't. They played over their head in many ways, certainly defensively. They
Yeah.
played better than they normally do.
Yeah.
But the
And
Bills went down to their level.
They did.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
There is that interesting stat about teams that travel to London and don't take the bye the next week. Most of them trail in the fourth quarter, heading into the fourth quarter. It is an interesting tidbit, I would say, but also the Bills have the way more talented roster, and the fact that they had no points coming out of the half, didn't score until the fourth quarter, and it took Josh Allen's heroics to get them on the board. Says
He's
a lot.
now ready. Go ahead.
If I see another shotgun run on third or fourth and short, I'm going to lose my mind.
I don't
It's
understand what it
it's
gets
got
you.
to the point where I think Dorsey's just messing with us. That's the only explanation.
He's like,
I
this will
look-
piss off Dan Fates.
like Buffalo Plus is going to have a field day with this one. I just
What side of the mug are you on?
it's baffling. If you want to talk about under center and shotgun, that's fine. But the running it consistently out of the shotgun, especially on third and short,
Yeah.
and again at the end of the 17-play drive, which you would have thought they were playing the Bears, the great Bears,
85 Bears?
Yeah.
The way they had to slog 17 plays in the third
Yeah,
quarter, take
almost
over
10
10
minutes, yeah.
That's great. That's awesome to put that drive together. It shouldn't have taken that much effort to do it against the Giants.
Yeah.
And then to be on second and goal from the 1 or the 2 and to go backwards 3 yards
Yeah.
because of a shotgun draw play. It's like bashing your head against the wall. It's not working. It's infuriating. And when they did have success running the ball, it was James Cook and it was under center. I don't understand
Yeah.
the logic behind some of these things. And again, I'm not trying to sit here and say I could be an offensive coordinator. I couldn't. But I'm looking at what works and what doesn't. And it seems like Ken Dorsey's trying to zig when everybody else is zagging to try and just be different. It's not working.
Yeah, and the other thing, Jenna, today, I mean, no other wide receivers got involved at
None.
all.
It
It
was-
was Diggs
yeah.
and the one play to Deontay Hardy, which was more of almost like a running back play. Well designed. There
Yeah.
was the plus.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
That was the one time they schemed it perfectly, executed it perfectly, used a guy who has that skill. Besides that, I did not see a moment where they looked like they had the Giants reeling at all. Josh Allen had to make some incredible plays
I mean,
for them to get offense going. Plus, they also benefited from a few penalties.
Yeah.
One where Josh took a pretty big hit in order to keep drives going. This was, honestly, I thought the offense was considerably worse than it even was in Jacksonville.
I would agree.
I thought this was
This
bad.
was Jets. This was
Yeah, this
Jets.
was-
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
This was
This was
again. I
regression.
sat here and I was on the sidelines. I'm going. They look uncoordinated again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, the sideline wasn't great because it's this sense of why can't we where are the points? Like,
Yeah.
there
Why
are
is this
times-
so hard?
It's one thing when Josh turns the ball over, or Gabe Davis gets the fumble happens. Those plays happen, but to consistently stall, to consistent not be able to get
Yeah.
things going, that's unlike this team, and that's kind of hard to swallow.
And Jenna, to Dan's point, that's against, when you're comparing it to the Jets game, the Jets have a very good defense.
Yeah.
These are the
It's-
Giants, who have
yeah.
gotten pushed around by most teams.
Every
was,
team.
It was perplexing watching up from the press box. It was just like,
Josh
why?
Dobbs put up 28 points or 20-something points in this
Yeah,
defense.
it's just like, why did it look so hard? And that was the biggest thing. You had to have Josh make some of these heroic throws, all this stuff, which Josh is able to do that. But yeah, I mean, I wonder at what point though, like, we talk so much about it with Ken Dorsey, the decision making, but what do you think has to change? Like, what do you think it's just going to suddenly?
Didn't you think Sean McDermott was frustrated with the offense?
Yeah.
100%.
And I thought in his answers when he talked about, rhythm, I think that's an important thing. That, to me, goes to coaching. There is
I
schemes, there
agree.
is plans, but rhythm it's a combination of confidence in the play call, pace that you
Yeah.
run at. You have the guys that can do that. They seem to be bogged down. Every play was like in the mud. That was
Yeah.
the entire game.
Yeah.
That should not be happening against the Giants at home.
Again, I know it's great to sustain drives, and they had a 10-minute drive. It was the longest drive in 15 years or something like that. They said it was over since like 2013, something like that. It was awesome. All those things. You can't depend on putting together 17
Team play drives, yeah.
But the other thing is, when you want those drives? When you're up by 10 and you're
Yeah,
sealing the game.
yeah.
You
Not
you
when
want
you're
that. You're
yeah.
trailing in the game. You got to get the ball down the field. And I know the Giants played them a little bit in front, but like it was really, I thought it was I would say based on the opponent and what you were coming off of, well, this was the worst offensive performance they've had. I mean, they're
Agreed.
shut
I would
out into
agree.
the third quarter.
Yeah.
And the quarterback, I give him credit. He played hero. He took a lot of hits.
He
They
did.
needed him to be a hero, and he came through for them. I mean, if you had the what would it be? What bet would it be? Where you just picked the two. If you had Hardy,
The parlay.
the parlay of Hardy and Quentin Morris as your 2 touchdowns for the game, go cash that baby in, because nobody would have expected that.
Unreal. Josh Allen said after the game that he did get X-rays also on his shoulder.
Yeah,
It's-
we saw
it's
him.
Pictures. It's
We
just
saw
throwing.
him. Dan and I saw him walking
Yeah.
to the thing.
He said we'll be all right after. It's on his throwing shoulder. That's what we've heard.
I like that.
I don't love that either.
It's one thing if you're getting a hand X-rayed, it's whether it's broken or not, right? That's what the X-rays are going to show. You're going to show bones, and
Yeah.
the fact that it's shoulder, that can be bruised, that can be sore, that can affect throwing motion, that can limit, swelling, inflammation. All of those things can affect it. Gutsy performance again by Josh because of dealing with that pretty much the entire second half. Just a gutsy effort. I talked about the Quentin Morris play. It was like he went into the phone booth, came out with his cape on.
Yeah.
Like that's just an absurd play that people don't even attempt, let alone pull
Oh,
off.
the window to make that throw work
Wasn't
is
open.
It wasn't open.
Unbelievable.
wasn't
What did Morris say? He goes, "Yeah, I had guys on both sides of me."
Yeah, in front.
But
yeah.
tell him about Morris and Knox.
So
Yeah.
obviously Morris, 3 plays before, I just saw him kind of limp off to the side. I know he wanted to come out of the game, but with Dalton Kincaid not being active, and he was pretty much the only tight end, and they ran a lot of 2 tight end sets, and he couldn't really come out of the game. So when the play goes on, and I see Quentin outside, I'm like, well, he's a distraction. He's just a body over there.
Yeah.
And then I see him catch the ball at the end, and Dawson Knox comes up to jump on him and celebrate, and he can't even put any weight on his ankle. And he's like, yeah, Dawson jumped on me. He said he was sorry. He thought I hurt himself. Like all these things. Gutsy effort from a guy that wasn't really supposed to get this chance if Kincaid plays.
Yeah.
He's not
It's
getting
his
this
first target all year.
Yeah.
And it's the
Mike
play of
was
the
like,
game
I
on
think
offense.
that's his first catch of the season.
In his first target.
Yeah.
And so he gets it done. So you do need guys to make those plays. It just was so difficult all night long.
In the mud is a good example. Everything
Yeah.
was tough sledding.
Everything was. And I feel like after the game, seeing Allen at the podium, like he looked, in my opinion, slightly disheveled. Like, that's the most kind of, we've seen him be dejected, we've seen him be all these things.
And they won.
And they won this game. But yeah, just his body language, obviously the toll that game took, but also the fact that it was so close, the struggles with the offense as that continues on. They talked all week about getting off to a faster start. They can't have these slow starts. And then to come out and see the way they played in this game, yeah, it's just, it's concerning.
So let's also talk about the biggest break they got in this game right before the half.
Oh, my God.
Okay, so Brian Daboll wasn't happy.
No.
Tyrod Taylor did the Buffalo Bills a favor. It appears checked out of that play is what he said. So they went from a pass to a run.
Tyrod check to a run.
Check to a run.
Unsuccessful run.
Unsuccessful run.
And they
No timeout.
They were guaranteed 3 points. Could
my
very
gosh.
well have had
Yeah,
7.
yeah.
And they got zip on that play.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Bailed out.
Dable made a couple of missteps. I think he settled for the field goal that put them back up
I
by
didn't like that
by
call.
2.
Yeah.
You know, but Dable calls a pass play there, knowing that if it's incomplete, then I can kick a field goal.
Yeah.
So
Or even run another pass play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I had time to.
So again, for a backup quarterback to overrule it and to check to a run, you better be damn sure it's going to work, and it didn't.
Yeah, that's tough.
And then at the end of the game, I happened to be standing here. Dan was too. Saquon Barkley was not happy coming off the field.
He's really good at football.
Yeah.
He is, and I believe he was saying, I would have liked it if the team would have put the ball in my hands.
Yeah.
I
He
believe
said it
he
just like
phrased
that.
it in a different way.
Yeah.
Something about a rock and some other words that he wanted in his hands. I would have been, for the Bills, the way Barkley was going in that fourth quarter,
Yeah.
I would have been worried if he had the ball. He didn't really get a chance at the end, but couple of breaks. The Bills needed it. They needed every bit of that against an offense that cannot get out of its own way most of the time.
We have talked now. I wanted to start the timer to see how long we'd go on this block. We've been going about 16 minutes. You would think they lost this game.
I know.
Like,
I know.
The way that we are talking about this, and to some respects, it kind of feels like an icky, it's an icky win.
Ugly win.
But Josh is right. Dawson said it in the locker room, whether it's 5 or 55 or whatever. A win's a win, and that's all that matters when we look back at this in Week 13
Correct.
to know that they didn't throw up on themselves at home against the
But I
Giants.
also totally understand, and we all do, why fans would be very concerned because
Yeah.
this is issues that have not just popped up. These are things that are concerning trends that we have seen.
They're concerned about it too.
Yeah, of course they are.
So
Wait,
they say it's a win is a win. They're right.
yeah.
But man, film sessions are going to be ugly for these guys. They're going to see a lot of stuff they didn't do well.
Yeah.
And yes, you take the win. It's hard to win. I agree with all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know if you've heard this. The other team gets paid too.
Do they?
Yes. So, but
hate
you'll take
that
the win.
phrase so
But you take the win and try to learn from it. And they got a lot to learn from this game
Yeah.
because I say I'm not going to even pick on the defense. I thought the defense,
Oh,
you held them
defense
to
was
field
fine.
goals.
Yeah.
And you came up with the big stop, 2 of them really at the end. But in total, man, to struggle this badly coming off a loss and at
Yeah.
home.
Yes, Jenna?
I want to ask Dan about the fight.
Oh, yeah.
What was that like seeing that?
So it was one of those things that you're like, oh, it's a little pushing and shoving. And then it was Leonard who came after Spencer Brown like way late.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That it was like, oh, this is over. And then you're like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
And then to see that happen and to kind of see the rest of the offensive line come in and then to see 17 fly in
Yeah, don't do that, Josh.
was one of those things.
I loved what Sean
Yeah.
said, though.
What did he say?
Like, we're not going to back
We're
down.
not going to back down. But
But
17
Josh-
needs to be smarter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But it
he
was-
needs to be in the back of the.
But it was so funny because there were other guys helping out Spencer and where the real scrum was.
Yeah.
And it was like, somebody help him. Like,
yeah.
not saying there'd ever be a cheap shot, but like Josh is putting himself in harm's way.
Yeah.
Somebody, like I joked around, I tweeted something, the fact of most offensive linemen have their quarterbacks back. The quarterback here, Josh Allen, had his linemen's back.
Yeah.
The other thing you have to keep in mind, in those circumstances, and I think this is an unfair thing about football rules, they can get first of all, it's always offsetting penalties.
Yeah.
I think there was 5 against the Giants and
Yeah.
1 against the Bills, whatever
Yeah.
it was. But all it's costing the Giants, even if they get a penalty, is a yard.
Correct.
Yeah.
Whereas the Bills,
15.
if they it'd be 15 the other way, you have to be smart. I do like the not backing down.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it didn't cost them because Dorsey had already taken them back on the 1 carry.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they eventually got the touchdown to play to Hardy, but they needed it.
I was surprised how much these two teams didn't like each other.
I was too.
And you know damn well that was Dable getting his guys ready.
Yeah, of course. It's
And
smart.
and the fact that it played into the Giants' hand of they were able to make it a rock fight.
Yeah.
That they were able to pull the Bills down to their level, I think was frustrating. And the players went back at it multiple times. And also, I'll tell you this. I don't know if they showed it on the broadcast. Sean McDermott and Brian Dable's handshake lasted. He didn't pull back. Let's do it again.
okay.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't FaceTime me, we'll talk.
No.
No.
Yeah. Look,
We watched the video of it. I was actually shocked.
listen, we love Dable.
Yeah.
Some love him more than others.
Some of us here.
But I will say
Some
this.
of us got a hug before the game.
I got a fist bump.
I got one after the game.
Wow.
But I was trying to be respectful. The guy was not in a good
Yeah,
mood.
which is
but
very
I didn't even
fair.
say anything
The
to him.
video is so funny. I showed it to Jenna. I tweeted
Yeah.
it out. But it's like he's walking in, does a double take, and
Yeah.
sees me.
Yeah.
'Cause he knows. But I will tell you this.
Dan had to move the camera so he could wipe away the
The
tears.
tears.
You
Of
said it was like
joy.
I was holding the boombox before the game.
It was. You were waiting.
Brian!
Yeah. But I will say, he's got his hands full with this bunch. I mean, they
Yeah.
played tough. They played
They
hard
did.
for him. They play for him.
Tyrod, minus that check, played extremely well.
Threw the
I
ball
agree.
really well.
Yeah.
Dropped a couple in the bucket.
Oh, yeah.
They are a team of misfit toys right
Yeah.
now. They
Yeah.
are not a good team, not a good roster. Like you said, over 200 minutes without scoring a touchdown.
It's tough.
But, man, they battled hard today.
Yeah,
Isn't
they
it
did.
something? 220 minutes without an offensive touchdown, and it literally comes down to one play.
Yeah.
Really two, but one play
Yeah.
at the end when the clock was at 0. It's win or lose the game
Yeah.
from a yard out.
Wild.
So they could have broken that streak and beaten the Bills
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
all at the one play, but they didn't.
No.
Couple points, one more at least on the offense. Stephon Diggs is incredible.
Yeah.
He's always open. They
Yeah.
need to get somebody else
Yeah.
to take a little bit away from it because you saw on the interception and things like that. I mean, they're kind of doing that bracket coverage on him where they got one guy and then kind of guys all around him.
Yeah.
Because it's just
He's so
good and
Yeah.
all those things. And defensively, Dorian Williams plays like a guy with his hair on fire,
Yeah.
Flying around.
flying around.
Micah Hyde was very complimentary of him, seeing just what he was doing on the field today. He said, yeah, he's obviously a younger guy, but at the same point, you can see his ability out there in the flashes that he's been able to make.
Kyrie Elam. He's
Yeah,
got a
I
target.
mean,
Now,
yeah.
Sean McDermott
Correct.
complimented him on a tackle late in the game. He did make a
Resilient.
nice tackle.
Yeah.
And he's got to hang in there. Look, they need the guy to do something
Yeah.
and to play. But
That's
man,
overlooked by Tyrod's dumb mistake was
Oh.
Elam mugging a guy in the end zone.
Yeah.
And the part I had the problem with, look, if a guy's getting past you and he's going to beat you for a 50-yard touchdown, you grab a hold of him, and there's always the little tug on the jersey. He's right at the guy. It's terrible technique.
It's bad technique.
Yeah,
He
it is.
just grabs him, makes it so easy for the official to call the penalty.
And the deep ball late, he never really turned around.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was able to get his hands up, things like that, but I wouldn't have been the way that they. I mean, I guess they let a lot of things go pass interference-wise for the most part, especially
Yeah.
earlier in the game against the Bills.
Those
Yeah.
that early
Yeah.
was.
And the other thing we
interesting.
should really talk about is the thing with Damian Harris. It looks like
Yes.
he's doing okay.
Yep.
Sean McDermott said the early signs are that things are
Thumbs
good.
up.
He
But,
had
you know-
movement in his arms and legs as well.
It wasn't quite the same, obviously, as what happened with DeMar. You were on the field for both of them. What'd you sense down there when all the
Very
players
scary.
were around? Yeah.
So obviously, it was a 3rd and 1 run out of the shotgun.
Yeah.
And he gets tackled, and like it's one of those things where the guys go to get him up, and then he just went flat.
I
So-
saw. Yeah.
So that was scary to go flat, and motionless.
yeah.
Because that just brings back a lot of those. And again, they all kind of said, like Sean even attested to
Yeah.
it, like it brings back kind of the
Yeah.
thoughts about DeMar. It was nice to know that I was watching. It's like they're not doing CPR.
Yeah,
Like,
isn't that something?
I know that's a terrible thing to think about, but that's instantly where my heart went. Was like,
Yeah.
it was kind of one of those collisions where you went like, what's
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then obviously the players come around, the board comes out quickly, and you're
Yeah,
like, this
then
is,
the
and
ambulance
then an
and-
ambulance.
yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
It's oddly, I won't say routine is the wrong word, but we've seen it a number
disgusting.
of times.
Yeah, it was.
And is a guy. He's a person who just found out, I think Friday, they did a gender reveal. I
Yep.
think he's
Yeah.
having a little boy
Yeah.
Yep.
in his family. And what I asked Dion about, and Dan, was what it's like for these guys. Like, it's their friend and teammate there.
I don't know
and
how
it's
you
not
turn
just
the
watching
page.
it and then
Yeah.
turning around.
Yeah.
And Dion, I tweeted it out if you
Yeah.
want to hear it, but Dion talked about it like it's what they have to do. And they
Yeah.
got it. He goes,
And he got choked up for a second.
He did.
Yeah.
He took a second before he answered because
Yeah.
Dion's, unfortunately, the way the season has gone, he's been saying the injury rate is 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's said. And it's next man up. And we've talked about it, that it's impersonal.
Yeah.
That it makes, and Dion's answer, Mike, was kind of like, we have to act superhuman even though we're not.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we got to block, the whistle gets blown, we got to play.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, Josh Allen needs protecting on the blind side. That's my job. He goes,
Yeah.
I got to put that here. It doesn't go away. It's just, but it's like in the background for
Yeah.
him. And then you just go play. You said it in there. You're like, oh, they're just back playing. I mean, literally, the ambulance has made it to the
Yeah,
tunnel.
it's
I
And
know.
the whistle's blowing
Oh.
and they're playing. And you all see it at home. But for the players, man, that is tough.
Poyer checks in the ambulance, and then he's doing high knees, getting himself to go back up on the field. It's like,
That's
again.
the game. That's this game.
Yeah.
It's the worst part of the game.
they're
It
able
is.
to compartmentalize it. And
Yeah.
again, but
Yeah.
again, they are human. That's a friend, that's a teammate, that's another human being that
Yeah.
happens to.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Very
everything
tough. I was
is-
just say
Yeah.
early signs like we
Yeah.
talked about Sean McDermott saying things seem to be early on positive outlook, all that stuff. So
One last thing I'll say. Terrell Bernard is a dude.
yeah, we were saying that.
He can play.
Yeah.
He may have a long career, the way that he has stepped up, the way that, again, we always said that he wasn't big enough to play middle linebacker, and that
Yeah.
was kind of the thing. And he is not afraid to fly around with his body and smash into guys and fill holes and kind of be able to plug the run gaps is just incredible.
Yeah.
The play that was the call for the
Yeah.
run,
Yeah.
he was the first one there to make
Yes.
that. Now, he did have
Yeah.
help,
Yeah.
and they probably could have kept him out of the end zone, but Bernard comes in ready for a tackle. He is
Yeah.
he's around the ball. He did get called for that penalty.
Yep.
But he is
He's
been
fun to watch.
so much more than you would have thought he would have been coming in.
1,000%.
Yeah,
100%.
so much more.
He has been so fun to watch. All right. Anything else?
Von Miller hasn't. I don't know if he's mentally ready, where he
Yeah.
is. Colder night, I don't know if that was part of the toughness of getting up, sitting down, getting up, kind of being a I was almost gonna say like it's the spot guy situation, pitch count.
Yeah.
But at the end it was Jonathan Kingsley Jonathan in
Yeah.
the last
Yeah.
drive. So because I thought this was Von's time. This is what he does.
Yeah.
And Leonard Floyd's not 100% by any means, but that dude just goes out there and balls out.
Yeah.
He's a freak.
What's he up to?
6.5.
sacks
Yeah, he's a
already?
freak.
Yeah. Which is wild.
And AJ Epinesa continues to prove that Dan was wrong.
Yeah.
And says
We love
Dan's an
AJ.
idiot.
Yeah, I mean he was good. I
Yeah.
loved the play that he made, and
No, mostly because he made Dan be wrong.
really,
Yeah, I was not a fan of him during this offseason.
well,
No,
he
that's
wasn't
honestly
doing what
I
he's
was gonna
doing
say,
now.
That is
Correct.
very fair.
Dan,
Thanks for sticking up for me.
you hold him accountable.
That's it.
Holding Fate's account or holding
Fate's holding accountable. That's
Fate's
what it is.
holding accountable. All right. Okay, so up next is the Patriots. We'll have plenty more to discuss as the Bills get ready to head to Foxborough.
Wow.
Yeah.
After this, the Bills still had a better offense than what they're going to see next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, as well as share with a friend if you enjoy our stuff. For Dan and Mike, I'm Jenna. We'll catch you next time here on Buffalo Plus.